why'd you go and get it and bring it back?
Just because I didn't want to walk from the barn, and I had brought a feed bucket and that kind of stuff over to the house. So
Why'd you drop it off the night before then?
Because that was
You thought you were gonna.
usual, protocol.
I mean, you see what I mean? Like, you drop it off to just go the very next day and get it again?
Right. But,
You see what I'm saying? That's why I was curious why.
but I don't think it's up walks miles a day.
Mhm.
I mean, anyway, and I would always walk to that barn unless I'm carrying something and back. It's just.
So you went and got it. Did you do anything with it when you went and got it? Because you walked to get it to bring it back to the
Well,
house.
I went over there to go feed everybody.
Okay. And you did that. And this is the morning of the 4th still, or is this when the girls were
No,
there?
that was the morning of the 4th. And I
Okay.
went up there and got it because I had my water in
And you
can
brought it back.
and a feed bucket and some other stuff. I had just gathered up like that kind of stuff. you
Okay.
know.
So when
Put
you
it back
had.
to the RTV, came back over to the house and did my usual, put Miracle Grow out on the plants.
Yeah.
I mean,
Stuff works. Miracles.
Yeah.
It really
Just
does.
that kind of stuff. Fiddled around, got the backpack blower, blew off the driveway.
And this is all on the 4th. So once you got the girls and Addison came over, how long did Chris stay when he dropped Addison off? Once you and Cameron got back?
I got Cameron inside. Told her, I said, just take it to Ellen Addie's room. Okay. So she did.
So wait, what does that mean? I'm sorry, like where did she go?
Upstairs.
Oh, okay. So like in that upstairs bedroom where their stuff is?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So she went up there, did it. I said, I'm going to go to the barn and feed. I said, and you can just do whatever you want to.
Okay, so you left Cameron in the house.
Yeah.
And then you went back to the
And I
barn.
went to the barn.
Did you walk to the barn or take the ATV that was
I took the
outside?
RTV.
Okay. So you drove the
But-
RTV to the barn.
I did, but when I pulled in to the house, I said, great, all the goats are out. So we don't leave them out unattended because they will get in and eat all, everything. So I called Scott and I said, have you been here? Because the RTV was not parked where I had left it.
But this is all the way once Cameron got there.
Yes,
Okay.
Cameron was there. The RTV was parked in the next parking pad. There's two.
Like in the driveway.
In the driveway, yeah.
So you parked it in one, you leave, you come
Yeah.
back and it's been
And it's
moved.
in another. Still didn't think anything about it. I mean, it's in a different
But
one.
Scott what'd Scott say?
I said, have you been here to the house? Well, no. What makes you think that I've been to the house? Well, she goes, the pigs, everything's out.
Hmm?
And I said,
And the and who all drives an RTV?
me and Scott and Gary and whoever's there.
Okay. You'll leave just the key in it.
Yeah.
Was it weird that it had been moved?
I just thought Gary had moved it.
Okay.
Now, when I was blowing off everything, of course, I start to blow from the shed, over just right in front of the shed that's over there at the house. Just blow that off and then do the driveway and then down part, of the driveway, those two parking pads, keep them kind of, done off. And blew the top deck off and then went down and just blew like the stairs that went down. Just kind of blew it.
How often do you do that?
Every day. And sometimes twice a day, just to keep it off my driveway.
Mm-hmm.
Because all those nuts and stuff fall on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it had not been that long ago that we pressure washed it.
Okay. Pressure wash like everything?
Just the driveway.
Okay.
And then I did not use the pressure washer on the sidewalk that went into the house.
Has that ever,
Just spray it.
with the
Stuff.
hose?
Well, I've got one of those things that hooks up to the end of the hose
Mhm.
that we spray it pretty frequently with.
Okay.
It's like Clorox.
Like the little hand?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And
When was the last time you sprayed kind of the, like under the deck?
that was right after we did the fire pit.
How long ago was that? Talking days, weeks, months?
It was still cold outside.
Oh, so we're talking months ago was the last time it was really
It was
sprayed
in
down with the
spring,
Clorox
yeah, it was in the
spray.
spring.
Okay.
Chad
So
came
a little
over.
while ago.
Yeah, Chad
So,
came over.
when
Because
you-
they had brought red mud and stuff up when they were working on it.
Yeah, and just made
And
it
so
dirty.
we pressure washed it then.
And that was really the last time it got a good cleaning.
And that was the last time I got a good clean.
Okay. So when you were taking after you called Scott out the goats, Cameron's inside upstairs.
Well, she was in the car with me when I called Scott.
Because you figured out, did you see the goats were out when you were pulling in?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have that
Pigs
call.
are running and everything's out and, you know.
Yeah, everybody's out. They don't need to be.
Everybody's out, You know,
Okay, so you call Scott.
yeah.
Mention that to him. He says he hadn't been there.
I said, have you been here? Because, I mean, it was like, everything was open,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And he said, no, I haven't been there. Why? I said, because everything looks like it's been, you know. I said, and we mentioned, right, he's left goats at him. But that's not unusual either. I mean, you know, for him to go and do that. And so anyway, I came in and told her, I said, I'm going to go to the barn and feed to get the goats back in, because all we have to do is put feed in a feed bucket and holler, hey goats, and they come running. Well, as soon as I got to the barn, Chris pulled in. So I just hopped back on the RTV, went back over to the house, and talked to Patty. She brought food in from Wendy's.
How long was Chris there?
Maybe 15 minutes.
So not a terribly, it's
Not a
pretty
terribly long
short
time.
amount of time.
Pretty short amount of time. We had the discussion about, where's Ella? And she's still at Emma's.
So she was at that sleepover still.
Yeah, she was still over there. And I said,
Okay.
why are you, she just came into town. Why are you leaving her there that long?
Mm-hmm.
You know, she came in on Tuesday, you dropped her off on Tuesday. You know, why are you leaving her there that long? And then he left.
And this is about 7 o'clock he leaves. So you go and put all the animals up from the time you and Cameron got home before
Well-
Chris gets there. All the animals are put up.
No, I never did get them put up.
Okay. So
Oh.
did you go and try to do it? Because Cameron was inside and you went back outside.
Well, in the meantime, as soon as I got over to the barn, Addison pulled up with Chris.
Okay.
So I just hopped back on the RTV, went back to the house, talked to Addison. You know, she had a salad and some stuff from Wendy's.
Mhm.
She sat there and ate it. We chatted about what you do today, just the usual, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I said,
How long from the time you got home to the time Addison and Chris got there?
not long.
Less than an hour?
Oh, yeah. I mean, just literally for me to get pulled
Did
in.
you drive that AT to RTP anywhere then?
Yeah, I took it back to the barn.
And you parked it there?
Well, no, because I went over to the barn and was going to, I had put the feed in the feed bucket and realized that Addison and Chris were pulling in. So I just hopped back on the RTV, went back to the house, got busy with them, just kind of doing
Mhm.
and stuff. And Addison had salad and I don't know what else from Wendy's. And I said, look, and she said, I'm not, whatever, I'm going to not eat all of it. And I said, we'll take it, put the top back on it, put it back in the refrigerator, put the bag in the garbage. I mean, you know, typical stuff you tell an 11-year-old. I mean, you know. And they wanted to go to the barn. And Cameron, or I guess it was Cameron, they poured orange juice in the kitchen. And I said, oh, somebody spilled orange juice in the kitchen. And, you know, one of them said something, I'm sorry, or something like that. So I, you know, cleaned it up. And, you know, they went over to the barn. And I said, do y'all want to feed that little baby goat while y'all were over there? And Addison just, well, I don't know. You know, and I'm sure she didn't know how to mix up the bottles and, you know, that kind of stuff. And I went back to the barn, fed the baby goat, and took the feed out to the thing and trying to get the goats back in. And the pigs were everywhere and doing, and I did not have, I just had on flip-flops at the time, and I thought, I need to go back and get my boots
Mhm.
and put them on. And so I went back and got my boots. I was going to get the boots and stuff. Well, by that time, the girls were wanting to ride the RTV. And I said, please don't do that tonight. It's getting late. Everybody's tired. I've been hot today. You know, let's get wound down. Everybody get a shower. We'll ride the RTV tomorrow.
Mhm.
And I got busy with them, trying to get them in bed and that kind of stuff.
What time did they get in bed?
I know that I was in bed by 8:30.
Okay.
And because I talked to Scott again, and I said, I thought you
When did y'all look for Gary?
That was not till yesterday.
What about Addison and Cameron?
Well, they said something about where's Big Daddy? And I said, well, I'm sure it's down there in the basement. And that was the only discussion, and then that was, I said, why? And they said, well, we want to ride the RTV. Well, that's when we had the discussion about, no, let's don't ride the RTV tonight. It's getting,
Did they ask where he was?
well, they just said, they said, I mean, they did, where's Big Daddy? I said, well, I'm assuming he's down there in the basement. Did you not see him? Well, I mean, and that was just kind of the end of the discussion, because I said, why?
Did they want you to, did they make any efforts to go look at the barn for him? Did they make any efforts to call him?
No. I mean, that was just, it was dropped at that point in time, because I said, well, why? And they said, well, we want to ride the RTV. And I said, look, let's get cleaned up, let's whatever, you've got all day tomorrow.
And you didn't help them look for him at all?
Not that, I mean, no.
Is it unusual to not see him for an entire day?
Yeah. I mean, it's very usual. I mean,
And he's not in the basement?
I don't know. I mean, because nobody ever went and looked or did anything from that point in time on.
When was the last time you had actually gone in the basement yourself? Did you ever do anything down there or go down there at all?
I will one time a week. We'll go down there and change his sheets, gather up towels or dishes and, that kind of stuff.
Okay. And what day was it that you broke the plate? You said it was the,
I think it was on Monday.
why were y'all down there then?
I was outside and I walked in his office to go get scissors to cut tags off
Of the plants?
of the plants.
And you broke the dish out of frustration?
Just, yeah, because it was just like, really, can any of y'all not pick up anything out
Did
there?
you drop it?
Oh, yeah.
Did you slam it?
Bang.
You slammed it.
I just slammed it. I mean, Scott was right there when I did it. And Gary was over at the barn.
It seems like a substantial thing to smash that dish.
It was just, Scott was just standing there just yelling at me.
It seems like there was,
I mean, it was
notable
like
frustration.
Everything. I mean, it was like,
It was
everything
him-
was going wrong, everything was going
Him paying for other people's finances.
Well, no, that wasn't even that. That
It
was
was-
not an issue at the time. It was Scott standing there basically just, why do you always do this? Why do you all, I mean, it was you all. It wasn't, well, I said, Scott, this is not your place. I can do whatever I want to here. I can dig up bushes, I can do replant, I can put in fire pit, I can do whatever I want to here. Your daddy and I can do whatever we want to. I mean, it was just a conversation that we had, 14 hours a week.
Mhm.
Because, I mean, I'm sure you've talked to him, it's his barn. And I've told him many times, unless you got a rat in your pocket, there is no week in this discussion. This is our place.
Mhm.
It's ours.
And that's the discussion y'all were having down there?
And, yeah, I mean, it was just.
And that would be like
and y'all
the
not-
second?
Yeah, I mean, it was just like everything at that point in time. He'd gone just haywire. I mean, it was just everything.
Like what?
Just normal, everyday stuff. I mean, Scott was yelling at me because I didn't have dinner done. Well, why don't you have dinner done? Scott, just give me a minute. Just,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't even know what we're going to do. I mean, just that kind of stuff. Gary, he said, why is Gary going to the barn? I don't know, Scott. But he had walked over there. And because the RTV was at the house. And I said, I don't know. Well, what's he over there doing in the garden? I don't know, Scott. I mean, it's just a typical,
Mhm.
And
So when to your knowledge, Addison and Cameron never went to the barn looking for Big Daddy.
they
never
went to the
called
barn
him.
that night. I mean, they just went over there to,
Did they walk or take the?
no, I wouldn't, I said, they just walked,
Okay.
over there.
So they walked over there.
I said, just stay out of the pastures. That's all I asked, is stay out of the pastures. And they went.
So when you went to sleep at 8:30, where were they?
They were inside.
Okay.
And I had told them, I said, look.
But y'all there was really no discussion about Gary, nobody being able to find him or talk to him or anything. Have you tried calling his phone at all?
No.
Had
There was
they?
no reason.
Had they?
No,
Had anybody?
not that night that I know of.
Okay. And you went to bed at 8:30.
Yeah.
Did you call anybody after 8:30, or did anyone call you and you have any conversation at all?
I talked to Amanda after I got home. Because she called to say, she had sent a text, she said, we're home. And I called her after that, and I said, you know, basically the discussion of, we are too. Amanda said, look, we're going to go to bed early. I said, she said, I told Cameron that she's got to turn her phone off. She can't be on her phone after, you know, so she said, please make sure that they adhere to that. Stay off Instagram, Snapchat, you know, all that stuff, all the normal kind of stuff. So I told the girls, I said, look, and I did. I went upstairs and got a shower and got ready for, you know, stuff. And I said, keep an eye on the goats, because I said I couldn't get the pigs and stuff in, so I'm not going to try to get one. I mean, you know. And I said, I'm hot and tired. I don't feel good. My head hurts. You know, just the usual. I've been out eating. And because, like I said, I had to stand in line a long time just to get in. And they came back, and I told them, I said, look, y'all got to do a shower and that kind of stuff. Okay, well, I mean, the usual, you know. And I sent Addie a text, and I said, okay, it's time for you all to get in the shower. Because they were upstairs, and I was downstairs, and I had fixed me something to eat. And I actually took it to bed and turned on the TV in there in the bedroom and was doing that. And they said, okay. And they did. They came, you know. I knew they were in the shower, you know, getting ready. And
Then what time is this right about now?
about 8:30, something, you know, along about that. And Scott came in after that
Okay.
and was belligerent because the goats were out. I said, Scott, they're fine. They're not doing anything. I couldn't get them in.
He came in because he was upset about it.
He was upset about it. You know, and that point.
And he came in the house and talked to you when you were what, in your bedroom?
Yeah, he came to my bedroom door, and there was a discussion about, oh, well, I guess they've been on something about the RTVs. I said, no, I did, but they want to write it tomorrow, so get over it. And I said, so do not take it back up to the barn. So then that way we can get on it, they can get on it in the morning and write it. And of course, he was in his truck. He came in and something about, well, the eggs, there's a hen sitting on the eggs up at the house. I said, I know that. So don't get those eggs and give them to anybody. Okay, not going to. You need to calm down. And that was, he was just in there screaming. And I said, you need to calm down.
And then,
you know.
and this is a little bit after 8 at this point?
Yeah.
8:39?
Yeah, somewhere the 8:30 range.
Okay.
Something
And
like
then he
that.
leaves.
And then he leaves.
And he gets back in his truck and drives to his barn?
I don't know where he went. I mean,
But he left the house.
He left the house.
Oh.
And he said something about, well, what'd you fix for dinner? I mean, it was just a normal discussion, you know. Well, we ate it late Lanier. And, you know, as far as a big meal, I mean, you know, goes. And I said, Addison brought in Wendy's. I mean, that was just the discussion.
Okay.
It's just a normal every night.
And then what happened after Scott leaves?
I didn't get back up. I mean, I heard the girls back in the kitchen.
What time did you get up the next day on the 5th?
I honestly don't know. It was later than normal when I got up.
But you were in bed at 8:30 and you never got up. You didn't go play with the girls. You didn't walk around. You didn't
No,
go
'cause I
outside.
heard-
You just stayed in bed.
I just stayed in bed. I mean, I was done. I mean, I was just, and had a bad headache, and that, so I just attributed to being out in the sun all day. It got so hot, you know. And I heard the girls in the kitchen, sometime 9:30ish, something like that, getting food, which was fine. And then, you know, thinking about it. Heard them go back upstairs, giggling and talking, and, you know, that kind of stuff. And the next morning, I think it was around 7:30, 8 o'clock, I went upstairs to go just go check on them. And they were both in the queen size bed that was in there in the bedroom. And I turned out, they had 2 lights on in there, the ceiling light and the light on the the chest, I turned those off. All the bathroom lights were on. I actually let water out of the bathtub that had been left in there, just the normal, you know.
You kind of tidied up in there while they were sleeping?
Kind of, yeah, just the bathroom and the,
And turned in lights?
Yeah.
And then what time, and then did they get up and eat breakfast?
They got.
Or what'd you do after doing all that stuff in their room?
Then just the normal, feed the chicken, fix me something to eat, and actually took it back to the bedroom to eat because the TV in the study has been acting up. Ever since we had a new hard drive put in, it's been buffering a good bit, so I just took it back to the bedroom.
What time did Amanda get there?
I think about it.
Did you ever go out to the fire when you were doing your routine? Did you blow off and all that kind of stuff?
No, didn't do anything.
Water plants, like what was your usual routine after
I just
tidying
went
up?
and checked on the chickens.
Okay.
Was a
Did you
whole-
take the RTV or did you just walk?
No, I mean, they're right there at the house.
Oh, in the big chicken coop there.
Yeah,
Okay.
just in the house.
Where was the RTV then?
It was still parked where it was in my pool.
Which is where you parked it, but it had gotten moved.
Right.
And so but it stayed
But it
right
stayed
there.
there.
Okay. So, that point in time, and during this entire, and at that point in time, you never went to the back, you never rode the RTV, you just checked on the chickens.
I just checked on the chickens
And
and did the usual picking up, putting up everything that unloaded the dishwasher, put the stuff that they had gotten, used the night before, put it in the dishwasher, just the normal, picking up, putting up after two little girls had been there.
Yeah. What time was Amanda the first person to come over that day?
Yeah,
What time did Amanda get there?
I don't know.
Were the girls up?
Oh, yeah, they were up,
What were they doing when they woke up?
just upstairs playing.
Okay. And then Amanda gets there.
Amanda got there, and
What did you do once Amanda got there?
we went and actually sat down on the front porch.
Okay.
And then Cameron and Addison came out and sat down.
So it was the four of y'all out there just kind of hanging out?
Yeah, just talking and whatever. And the girl said something about riding the RTV, and I said, we'll go there and ask, something about finding Big Daddy. And they came back and they said, well, he's not down there. I said, well, did you look at the barn? Well, then Scott pulled up about that time. He came up and he was dressed. And I said, where are you going? Well, I'm going to go get my hair cut, and I'm going to go to the PGA store, and I'm going to go meet Ted, and I'm going to da-da-da-da-da. I said, really? Once again, you're going to be off and going whatever today? And I said, the girls are looking for your daddy. Have you seen him? Well, no. I said, simple question, Scott. And so I got up and went downstairs and looked, and he wasn't. But his door to his office was cracked open. So I went in there and, looked through the basement like you typically, would. Nothing was out of character.
So you're touching doors when you're looking for them?
Oh, yeah.
Opening doors. Were you opening any? Did you ever open any drawers? Do you ever go through any of his drawers? Or look at him or sneak around or anything like that if he's gone?
No, I'll occasionally get his phone and open it up.
Where does he keep his phone?
Any of them.
Just sitting out on countertops,
Well,
basically?
Yeah. He'll leave it like laying on the kitchen countertop or in the bedroom on the chest of drawers. Or most of the time it's in his office.
Okay. What about his wallet?
No. If on a work week, he will usually leave it either on top of the dresser or leave it in the drawer. But then on the weekends a lot, if he doesn't keep it on him, so he'll just put it in his car. For going back and forth and that kind of stuff.
Going back and forth on the weekends? Back and forth to what?
He'll go to Cherokee, Tractor Supply, go get cigarettes, Mountain Dew, just that kind of stuff.
Okay. So
I went back out there and
do you ever go through his drawers in his basement or anything?
No.
In his area? So there's no reason, just for example, we'd find on any of the drawers and any of the furniture, we're going to find where, you would open it or anything.
Oh, yeah. I've touched everything in the house.
When was the last time you were going through any of the drawers down there?
have no idea.
Would it have been a long time ago?
Well, Scott and I were actually looking, Scott had said that there was a remote control missing. And I actually went down there and looked for it.
When was that?
Oh, a couple weeks ago.
Okay. Where all did you look for it?
Well, I had just thought, well, it got put in the cabinet where the TV is, in one of those, and opened it up. And so we never did find it. I mean, I didn't.
Did you go look at any other furniture down there, or just the one that the TV sits on?
Actually got, at some point in time, got a picture frame out of the chest. It's over in the corner,
By the sliding door?
by the sliding door, in the back corner. Got a picture frame out.
When was that?
I have no idea.
How long ago was it?
It's been in the last few weeks.
Did you find anything of note there?
No.
Did you see anything interesting in that chest of drawers?
No, I just pulled the picture frame out. You know,
Which drawer?
second one down. I mean, it's still.
Did you know exactly where it was and only open that one?
Yeah, I knew exactly where it was.
Did you open any of the others?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I just went and got the picture frame.
Which picture frame was it?
It was a glass picture, I mean, like a mirror picture frame
Where is it now?
in my study.
Is your study the one that you first walk in, it's on the left with all the books? Are those all the books that you have read, or are those ones your husband has read, or both?
Well, a lot of them were my parents' books.
Okay.
A lot of that stuff in here was my mother's, my grandmother's stuff.
But that is your study, that's where you sit?
Yeah, that's where I stay. So, I mean, I just went down there, got that picture frame, you know, put a picture in it. stuck
And that was
back
a
up
few
on-
weeks ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I knew exactly where it was. But, you know, did it, shut the truck, but, you know, nothing unusual. I mean, I go to, you know, like I said, once a week, I will go down there and dust and, you know, take the sheets off his bed and usually run a vacuum cleaner,
Mhm.
you know, thread. But now, the other day, before the kids came, I had cleaned his bathroom and done all that kind of stuff just because, you know, the kids come,
Mhm.
everything's all been cleaned up. And had vacuumed the home theater and cleaned a couple of spots because Gary would drink Mountain Dew because he comes and goes from his office all the time.
Mhm.
Put the remote controls back in, plugged in. There's one that you have to plug it in.
Okay.
You know, just did the normal plug that remote in, lay it up on the thing, take the leather cleaner, wipe it off. You know,
When was the last time you were cleaning down there?
that was before the kids were there.
Okay. Before the barbecue weekend?
Yeah,
Okay. So definitely no cleaning down there since then.
yeah.
And real quick, I know you told me earlier, and
Now,
unfortunately
I did
forgot.
go down there on the weekend when they were there because Scott was supposed to have had Ted, a friend of his, come over.
Mhm.
And he did come, and then they scared him.
Which Ted? What's Ted's last name?
I don't know.
Is it like the friend you plays golf with and stuff?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. And his mother was actually supposed to have gone, too. And I had gone down there and actually made Gary's bed because they were coming over. And she had never been to the house.
Okay.
So I went down there and made his bed, made sure everything, lights were turned on
And that would have been
on Saturday before.
Saturday. Okay. That was really the last time you were in the basement, other than stepping in and breaking that dish.
Yeah, but that was outside. I mean, I just got it off his desk in there.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
also
I went
other
there
than
and
other than the dish incident that happened on like the second,
Yeah, I mean, I just,
you cleaned it on Saturday, and you really have not been back down
no,
there. Okay.
until the other day when we were looking for Gary.
Okay. And when you were looking for Gary, was anything out of place down there? Was anything unusual? Did you see anything strange?
No, but when I was blowing off everything the day of the 4th of July, when I passed, we got down there blowing right, because the bathroom that he uses is right at the bottom of those steps down there, and the fan was blowing in there, and you could smell smell smoke coming, you know, out of it. I'm like,
Where does he smoke? Just all over down here?
yeah. Mainly in the bathroom or in that electrical room, if you go kind of down that hall,
Does he smoke in like the theater room?
he's not supposed to.
Does
but
he
he
smoke
can.
when he's sitting on the couch watching the other television?
He usually goes in that home theater.
It's a nice home theater, I bet too.
And, yeah, I mean, he'll go in there on occasion and smoke, and I'm just like, please don't, we just got this all cleaned up from the fire.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, he will occasionally go in there and smoke. But he does smoke in his office, but he's got one of those big air purifier, things that sits in there.
So I'm gonna jump to something real quick. When was the last time you all used the tractor? Was about like within the last week, but days ago, like before the barbecue. And that's when he graded the sand trap or sand thing in the field.
Yeah.
And that was before the barbecue.
Yeah.
That's the last time you know it was used, right?
Well, Scott hooked up the aerator, I think after that, into the backyard, but I don't know for sure. I don't remember exactly when Scott did that. But then the rate goes back on it. Because Scott said something about, well, yesterday, when we were looking for him, yesterday, Scott and I got on the RTV, and, I mean, we'd walked down and around it, everywhere, and then Scott got the RTV and pulled around the house and down, because he's got a trail cam down by feeder. And I said, have you got that trail cam working? Is there anything on it? No, there's nothing on it. So that was the end of that discussion. And then I actually had walked down the hill, past the burn pile, down that hill right there, and hopped on the RTV with Scott. And we come back up, and then we took it across the dam over there and looked, just over there, and then backed up, went back up and around, and then we rode up on the road. So you look at the top part of that pasture, up there.
Okay.
And
So
and I rode with him up there. And we rode
shall I go
up
look
to-
around the tractor at all?
Well, we made the mention then, because, we went back over there to the shed and the barn, and I looked for the barn, and I even crawled up in the hayloft up there and looked up there, and so I've looked everywhere. Okay, I'm gonna look in the store, and Scott said, and he took the tractor back here and put it not where we usually park it under the covered part, and it was down back behind.
So when y'all saw it, it was parked not in the covered spot.
No, in the covered
But the last time you had seen it, it was in the covered spot, right?
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw it parked? Like, when was the last time you, before seeing it there, when was the last time you actually laid eyes on that tractor?
I think that, it was there when I went over to go take care of the goats that night and stuff. But like I said,
That was there where?
It was under the shed.
What night was that?
That would have been on Tuesday night.
So somebody has moved it between Tuesday night
Yeah,
and July 4th.
yeah, but it was down on the back side of that shed, down where there's a bunch of pumpkins and stuff coming up down there, and then we keep a pile
Is
of
that where you
shavings
saw
and
it?
that kind of stuff. And I said something about, did you bring that down here? And he said, no. And I said, what, is it stuck? And he said, I don't think so. Because Gary has taken it, and got it stuck before, and we had to pull it out. The last time we had to pull it out, he had to hook his truck up at the top. in
So
the
you saw it
driveway.
parked under the shed on Tuesday night, though?
Yeah,
Is that when you were feeding?
but that was just when I was.
What time was
feeding-
that?
Well, when I went to go put the goats up and that kind of stuff.
Was that the dusk when you were on the ATV riding around? It was dusk and everything?
Yeah, and I just went and made sure.
So that would have been,
Made sure everything was locked, the goat pen was locked up,
okay.
and we usually keep a
So-
big log sitting in front of it too.
So the tractor has been moved between Tuesday night
Yeah,
and then when y'all
yeah,
went back there, somebody has moved it.
yeah, but I didn't think anything about it. I mean, we
Well, what do you
just
think
thought-
about it now? Tuesday night.
I mean, I just assumed that he had done it on Wednesday.
Well, I know. What do you think about it now?
I don't know. I mean,
The tractor was moved between Tuesday
Well,
night.
yeah, I know that.
You didn't move it.
No, I didn't move it.
All day long, Scott was gone, right? He left and he was not back till 8.
I don't know that.
Well, we can, that's something we can verify very
Right.
easily. So that leaves
Yeah,
Tuesday night,
right. I just
and that
assumed
leaves,
that,
and that
I
leaves
mean,
Wednesday
That
morning.
was our assumption that Gary had done it because the,
Correct, that's an
the call
assumption.
had been moved.
What's your thoughts now?
I don't know.
Gary did not move it. How did that tractor get moved?
I don't
Why
know.
did the tractor get moved?
I don't know. I didn't move it.
Any guess?
No. I mean, like I said, I just assumed that Gary had done it that day.
I mean, did you see what I'm like?
I do feel it.
Tuesday night when you're feeding the goats, it's dusk. The fire is going. You're saying that tractor was parked underneath that shed,
Yeah.
where it's normally parked,
Yeah.
like underneath the shed. It's a nice tractor. You don't want to leave it out in the
Right.
rain. And then when y'all went looking for him, it had been moved.
It had been moved.
And that was
when Scott
July
left.
5th, when y'all were
Yep.
all, of course, looking for him.
Right.
So how did the tractor get moved?
I don't know.
When did the tractor get moved?
I don't know.
Do you have any idea? You don't even seem, do you think it's strange that the tractor's been moved?
No.
Why?
Because, I mean, it's not unusual for it to be moved.
It's not unusual to be moved when your husband is alive.
Right. But we don't know when, I did not know, still don't know, I don't know. I'll tell you, I don't know. That tractor at that point in time was not, I mean, and that was our discussion, mine and Scott's, discussion. Did you, he said, no, I guess he did it.
How anal was Gary about it being parked under the shed?
It was more Scott that's anal, but it being.
So everyone else we've spoken to said Gary was anal about it because it's his money, he paid for it, he wanted it kept under the shed and out of the rain.
He didn't discuss the tractor necessarily with me because I am very seldom on it. Even Scott doesn't want me. Scott didn't even want me on that RTV. So Scott keeps the track. I mean, even if I bring that RTV over to the house for some reason, Scott will come get it and take it back.
But what about the tractor?
Like I said,
Was Gary ever known to just leave it out in the middle of the pasture? Or did,
Yeah.
or did he always put it back?
no, he didn't necessarily put it back. He has on occasion run it out of gas and left it.
Not intentionally though. If it's able to be crank and ran, he
He'll
puts it
typically
back
put
where it
back.
goes.
Yeah, he'll typically put it back. But I asked Scott, I said, is it stuck? To leave him where that it was.
And it wasn't.
And he said, I don't think so.
I saw it, it wasn't stuck.
It definitely is not stuck.
It's not rained good in a while, it's not stuck.
We didn't go down there to it, we didn't,
But you definitely noticed it was not parked where you saw it on Tuesday
Right.
night.
Right.
So if it's got gas in it and we can turn the key and crank it right now and drive it, that's odd that it's there. That Gary would have left it there.
No, not necessarily. Not if he was planning on going back. Because it looked like he was just turning the pile, the compost piles that was down there. That was all the discussion that we had about it.
Okay.
Was
And on
that-
Tuesday night when you saw it in the shed, that's dusk, when you were feeding the animals and stuff,
Right.
you were on the RTV. Was that when you had left the RTV and walked back, or was that you had done more driving around before you did that?
Oh, no, that was earlier when I had gone to check the goat pen and the gate and that kind of stuff.
And you had gotten the horses in. This is that night.
No, this is before I got the horses in.
This is when you saw it parked underneath the shed. But it's at dusk.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So a short time after that, at dusk, you're on the
RTV.
RTV. You had already had the conversation in the kitchen with Gary. About dinner.
Yeah,
You had already broken the plate.
yes.
The food plate had fallen,
Yeah.
so it fell off.
Well,
And then,
yeah, and I left it there while I went and ate.
okay,
It was just
that's fine. So now we're, so,
I just went in, scooped up more chicken salad, put it on a plate, grabbed some crackers, put it on a plate, went in there and ate.
okay.
Took it in front of
So
the TV.
we're looking at this tractor in the shed. You're on the RTV. You're up there at the barn tending to the animals. Scott is gone because
Scott's
he is
gone.
away. So we have some narrow time frames that things could have happened. We can make some time frame. can make some conclusions about time frames. Gary did not move the tractor from the shed at dusk or after dusk or in the middle of the night. But the tractor is moved.
But I don't know how tractors get moved. I can honestly tell you, I do not know how tractors get moved.
See, and but do you see why that's strange?
I do.
Why is that strange to somebody like me? Explain why this is a concerning thing to me.
Because we don't know how tractors get moved.
Explain why that's concerning.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know. I mean, you are assuming that he was killed somewhere else and moved. But I don't know that. I know nothing about anything. I mean, I don't.
Do you understand what we make our assumptions off of?
I do.
What?
Just by what everybody else is saying. Or what you're saying. I mean, there's 2 broken plates.
So we make our assumptions because we can't have our feelings involved in these cases. Our job is to find evidence and follow it.
Right.
Our assumptions are based off of evidence.
Right.
I've spoken to you several times in your family, and I've told you about the science part of all this that our
Right.
crime scene technicians are doing and how
Right.
science is involved in this to tell us things.
Right.
Our assumptions are based off of evidence.
Right.
So when you say he's assuming he was killed somewhere else and moved, his assumption is based off of something.
Right. But I'm
It's not like I just pulled that idea,
I know
the
that.
idea that
But I didn't.
I'm not pulling it out of a hat. Just not. So there's only so many ways, and you're the only person there, the only person at the house.
But no, that tractor. I mean, I didn't go to the back of the barn. I didn't go back to the back of the shed. Anything that morning. You know, I didn't. That's not something I typically do. I mean, I just go to the barn, feed, come back out. You know, I don't go check to see if there's a tractor there. He stays in it all the time. I mean, there was no reason for me to go and look. It was only when we were looking for Gary that I said something to Scott. I said, "Why is the tractor parked where it is?
Correct.
Is it stuck?"
And why is that? Why would that? Can you explain why something like that would be concerning to me as a
Because it was
detective?
still stuck into the pile.
And because obviously, excuse me.
Because I asked Scott, I said, "Did you move the tractor?"
And what Scott said.
He said, "No." He said, "I'm sure he did it doing, you know, messing stuff up."
Does anyone in your family? Does anyone who is not in your family drive the tractor?
Only Gary and Scott.
And
And
you,
like I said, I've been on it.
and you were trained springish on how to drive it
Yeah.
recently,
Rear, yeah.
and you have driven it on your own before a couple of times.
Yeah. I mean, I took it down to the arena and drug it not long ago. It was a weekend that Chad and Amanda were there. And I just took it and, you know, around through there.
Do you see the logical, common sense thing that I'm kind of, the picture that's kind of before us?
Is to why that I did the arena. I don't get what you're getting at.
The night of the 3rd.
But all I know,
No, I'm saying the night of the 3rd.
I don't get where you're at.
There's only so many ways certain things can happen.
I did not move that tractor.
Okay. I'm not necessarily saying that you did. So please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. You're riding around on the ATV. You see the tractor parked underneath the shed. Your husband was burning earlier. You know because I have told you that he was shot.
Right.
You know because I have told you that that fire cannot have consumed his body the level it was consumed naturally without people attending to it, without people helping it along, without it happening a bunch over time. This is, like I said, this is not a and done instant thing. It's not somebody shot in a room and left. This is not that situation. This is not something that could have happened while you were walking out to for you going to the end. your driveway.
did
This
not do that.
this is just not something that could have happened. You can't just walk to the end of your driveway. Someone has shot him and we found him in the basement. Everything that happened took time, it took energy, it took effort. It
All right.
probably took.
Answer me this. Do you think he was shot in that basement?
Where do you think he was shot? I know what the
Up
evidence.
until last night?
I know what the evidence says. I know who's at the house. I can tell you the tractor and the Komodo are getting put on a thing and going to a crime lab to be fully processed.
I don't have a problem with it.
I can tell you that in no, I'm not, and that's why you know what? I know y'all had a horrible relationship. I know that.
did nothing to him. I've never told my kids that I hope he has an heart attack and die. I would never tell my children that.
And I don't know why different ones of them would tell me that at different times in independent interviews when they hadn't had a time to talk. That doesn't make sense why that would be. What I look at when I do that, and just a side note,
Now,
and I'm not saying, and I'm not saying you were frustrated. I'm not saying you didn't make the comments out of frustration, but to say you never made the comments when both of them agree on almost even the phrasing of them in entirely separate independent interviews is a heck of a thing. That
The only
just
thing
doesn't
that
happen.
I would tell Scott is, we're gonna put this place up for sale, and you're gonna have to go get a job and make a thing on your own. This is way too much for me to take care of. I did. I told him that on a very regular basis. We're gonna keep on, and we're gonna put this place up for sale. But Gary would say the same thing too. It's too much. It's too whatever. It's too expensive. You know, I'm having to do for the other kids. I'm having to, you know, they're doling out. They're taking money. You know, Chris is draining us. Like,
Gary was just giving money away like it grew on
like it grew on
trees.
trees.
Like y'all, you know, I mean, he was giving money to everybody.
Yeah.
From what it sounds like, he controlled your spending a little bit more than probably would compared to how much he was giving away to everybody else.
Yeah. I mean,
Everybody was saying, it sounds like everybody was suckling on the teat for a farm phrase.
They were, except for Amanda. Of course, she's got it.
Sounds like her husband's or fiance's well off, so,
I won't say a lot.
well, compared to y'all, I mean,
You know,
so, sounds like all the other three were living off of daddy.
we're living off daddy.
And I have no doubt, based on some of the text messages I have seen, that frustrated you
Oh yeah, it did.
to like no end.
To no end. I mean, I had told Emily not long ago. I mean, it was like last week. That I said, look, just giving you a heads up. I said because I know that she does talk a good bit. And I said, look, I'm giving you a heads up that Chris is still taking money. He's booked a beach trip. I mean, you know, I said, and I gave the whole long list of things that he,
Absolutely.
you know, that he did. And I said, I'm giving you a heads up. This is stopping.
Mhm.
This is crazy. I'm gonna stop the insanity. You know. And my thing was the girls were fixing to come in. I was going to sit Jenna down, Chris down, and explain to her how much. I mean, you know. And I had even talked to Amanda about. Would you tell Jenna? She said, well, what is it? She said she's getting the advantages of it.
Is it concerning to you?
That he keeps taking money.
No. Is it concerning to you how much money he gives away? Were y'all struggling financially?
I'm not privy to any of that.
Did he ever get on to you for spending money?
Not bad. I mean, he would occasionally say, you know, like Kroger, that was one of the things. What did you spend $38 for?
What about the $50,000 about 10 years ago when you were in Alabama tending to your mom?
Yeah, I mean,
Was that a point of contention in your relationship? Because he had held that for taxes, something like that.
well, I mean, it was basically, I took half of what was in an account. And at that point in time, we had decided to separate. And, you know, that was not, you know, he knew I did. I said, well, look, you know, at that time, that was the only account that I still had my name on.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been in touch with Lisa and Emily. That was when Emily was a,
What happened with all that have any caps on spending or anything?
No. But I also know not to abuse it either.
What happens if you abuse it?
I don't.
Well, what happened if you did?
I don't do it.
Why would you cut off your phone?
Just because. I mean, it's like I could go leave.
I mean, because it sounds like he made an effort to cut off your phone. It wasn't like he just forgot to pay the bill.
Right.
Sounds like he made an effort to do it. It
He
seems incredibly controlling, is what it seems like.
He is very controlling to everybody. It's not just to me. It's to everybody. I mean, even when the girls were in school and that kind of stuff, their debit cards were put to
Has he-
his account.
And I worked domestic violence for many years. Has he ever been physically abusive towards you? In any way, shape, or form? Has he ever threatened to harm you?
Not really.
Not really, as in, like, how so?
The only thing that he would do was line about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, he would come bust a door in, to the bedroom and just stand over you and just scream. Why didn't you get this done today? Why didn't you get that done today? Why didn't you get, But I always attributed to the fact that he'd sit down there and smoke cigarettes and drink Mountain Dew and
He drank a lot of Mountain Dew,
he
didn't
drank a lot of Mountain Dew. And you get him calmed down, you need to calm down. You could talk him down out of it.
So if he got irate, you could easily calm him down.
Yeah. I mean, it would be, okay, we're not doing this. We're not going to do this. And I had even bought a thing that, it's behind my door, and it's a prop that you look at the door. In the night that he would get that way, I just stick it under the door, and that way, I wouldn't have to worry about him coming in. He'd just stand there and yelling and stuff. That would be when he would pick his time. He'd come in, he wouldn't say anything to anybody. He'd come in, eat, his iPad sitting right there at the island in the kitchen. Wouldn't say anything, but then he'd go down to the basement, and then he'd come back up. Well, why did so-and-so do this? And why did Emily do that? I don't know. Why don't you ask them?
So, okay. So,
But then after he had got...
does he have any life insurance policies or anything?
I have no idea.
That
I
he-
know he had one that he had canceled it several years ago.
Who would stand to benefit if something happened to him? Sounds like he freely gave away his money.
Yeah.
Did anybody hate him?
No.
Did anybody not like him?
Oh, I can say probably all the kids, they loved him. They didn't necessarily like him. I mean, that's what I have always said. I love him.
How do you feel about him?
Oh, I love him to death. I don't necessarily like him. I did not like the person that he had become. He was the sweetest, most whatever person.
Did you like the way he treated you?
But I have a mother who's the same way.
So that's saying you did not, is what that tells me.
Right.
You didn't like the way you were treated.
But
He
it
didn't
was-
treat you well. He
it
didn't
was-
treat you like a husband should treat his wife.
No,
He didn't care for you.
no, but that was normal to me.
He was not emotionally there for you.
No.
It sounds like y'all even interacting in front of Addison did not even speak to each other.
No. I mean, it would be.
It sounds like
you could see-
y'all barely even interacted.
Correct.
Y'all were going to lunch at the same restaurant at different times and passing each other without speaking.
And y'all didn't even sit at the same table or anything.
But he was sitting at a booth, but it has one chair to it, But Scott and I were there together. He walked by both of us, never said a word to either one of us. Walked out the door. But that's
Yeah.
not unusual. That's not the first time that's ever happened.
Sure, it's not.
Scott and I just looked at each other and went,
So, I mean, because there's so many things that would make sense to me. There's so many things that would make common sense. Something that I could go to my supervisors and explain.
My biggest
That-
fear, I mean, I can honestly tell you, and I have said that, and I've told the kids, my biggest fear, especially after he was in the hospital, is you went, okay, I know that he is physically kind of a train wreck. And I had talked to him, I had talked to the kids, and I said, look, my biggest fear is something will happen to him, and I will be left with nothing. Because mean, Amanda and I had a conversation about it after, especially in the last couple of years, since his name was on the mortgage of Emily's house. And we have a condo in Tuscaloosa that she lived in, which made sense to buy a condo there at the time. And we kept it because the tornado went through there. We kept it rented, except for one short period of time that he did not do the homeowners association thing on it. So for a semester, it was not rented. And, he said it was just an oversight on his part and there was a miscommunication. I said, well, if you pick up the phone and actually talk to somebody, it probably wouldn't be a problem. Well, he let me worry about it. So, don't worry about it.
What's your biggest fear now? What's your number one fear?
Is that now it was bad enough yesterday that he's dead. Now it appears that somebody has killed him. So we've got to get to that. Plus then I've got Amanda calling me first thing this morning that Emily is trying to get to the bank records, which is
I've been told about that.
understandable. I mean, that Amanda was worried about that. My biggest fear was that Chris would clean out the accounts.
Emily's husband.
No, my Chris.
Oh, you're Chris.
My Chris would do it.
Does anyone have access to the banks? The bank records or anything like that? Because what I heard Chris Payne was trying to get after the bank account information stemming from the law firm.
Emily would.
Why would they even remotely in any way, shape, or form ever get access to that?
Matter of fact, well, Amanda said yesterday, she said, well, can we find out what transaction that he had made? So I called Emily and I said, you don't have to be on any of the bank stuff, do you? And she said, no. I said, okay.
Is anyone on the bank stuff that you
I
know
don't
of?
know.
So,
I mean,
There's-
when I tell you he kept that on lock and key,
and I will say this, there are so many things. Just like I said, right now what we do is we paint a picture. We paint a picture based on interviews, paint a picture based on evidence we collect, based on observations we make, based on tangible things we can put our hands on, or we can photograph, or we can swab, or we can see. We have, we have countless detectives there now, crime scene techs. We had a forensic anthropologist out there. So pictures, and it starts out small and it gets more and more things get added in. It's like, you just put layer after layer after layer.
You're saying there's blood in the
After
collar.
layer.
When we went through there yesterday, not any of us, I mean, me and Amanda and Chris and Scott and Cameron and Addison, we were all in that basement.
Okay.
We saw the blood.
The problem is, you're looking for a 6'5", 300+ pound man.
True.
You're not looking for drops of blood here and there.
No.
Drops of blood here and there that have possibly been cleaned up and missed. As he said, we have trained crime scene investigators who have been to schools who are looking specifically for that. We're not looking for a 6'5", 300+ pound man anymore. We know where he's at.
People aren't walking through with flashlights. They're on their hands and knees. They're spraying chemicals that illuminate blood.
I mean, how much blood are you talking in that basement? I mean, would I have seen it walking through there?
There's blood in the basement, I will tell you that.
I don't
We
know.
found other things in the basement.
Like,
Other things in the basement that are significant. We know how long it took. We know lengths of time things took. We know that moving somebody that's 300 pounds and 6'4", that's bigger than I am, that is a significant feat. We are putting layer upon layer upon layer upon layer on this picture. And right now, the only thing you're saying, bear with me for a second, the only thing we're saying is that you don't about anything about anything.
No.
That does not, and you know what? That, I will tell you, that does not make sense to me from a very just simply, based on the information that I know, that does just simply not make logical sense in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not saying that you maliciously went down there and did something to him in any way, shape, or form. Please do not misunderstand me. Given y'all's relationship and his temper, if he came after you and you defended yourself, now is the time that we need to talk about that, because if we prove that something happened later, it's more difficult to make that argument. But you know what? I'm not saying that didn't happen, so I'm not accusing you. What I'm saying is something happened in that house and on that property when you were there. Something that did not happen in the blink of an eye, something that took time, something that took people, something that took moving. The tractor was moved from Tuesday night, and Gary could not have done it.
The RTV was moved in the middle of the night, and Gary could not have done it.
Things were done. Things happened.
What are you saying? Our room was moved in the middle of.
You said
Hold on.
you parked it in one spot and woke
Yeah,
up
but
and
that
it
was during the day.
That was the next. But the tractor wasn't. And here's the thing, even
But
at the end of the day,
stuff
what
were out too. I just assumed that Scott had come in.
you
Or
did
Gary had
then,
done,
and I'm telling
you
you
know.
that we can find evidence to prove that that is not how it went down,
Okay,
and that is
but
not what
still,
happened now.
I don't know. I mean, I was with Amanda and Chad and Cameron.
Okay, but the night of the 3rd, the only person there until 11:30.
Was me?
Yes. And then after that, you were still there. His body was burned in that fire pit. It was unquestionable, you saw it with your own 2 eyes. 11:30, that fire is still going.
Yeah. I mean,
In
Scott
that
and I
time
both-
frame, you don't have
But Scott was
nobody.
there from that time on.
Nobody
And
snuck came through the woods and was sitting there tending to this fire for time.
But Scott was on that property at that point in time too.
After 11:30, absolutely
Yeah.
he was.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that fire was going then. You were in your house after he got there. Nothing happened in your house after Scott got home that you didn't hear. It is absolutely,
Yeah.
unequivocally impossible that you did not hear it and that you heard
Yeah.
nothing going on in your house that night.
Right.
So we are looking at narrow time frames, and we are looking at significant periods of time and effort and manpower and energy, and the I don't know anything does not make sense. It doesn't jive. It doesn't match the evidence, and it just doesn't work.
But I don't know the time frame. I mean, I know when I saw him.
You realize, though, this makes no sense to
I
you,
do.
right?
I
And you realize
do
that I have
realize.
had hundreds of conversations with people that have
I
lost
realize
loved
that.
ones, people who have had loved ones shot and we didn't know who did it, people that have had loved ones who they have done something bad to. I have had these conversations with people on both ends of both sides of the spectrum. I've had countless ones. People tend to act certain ways whether they want to or not.
But I'm honestly telling you, I don't know.
And the problem is that just doesn't fit. It's absolutely impossible that you don't know. I'm saying it is the evidence we have, it is absolutely impossible. And like I said, I'm not saying that something terrible didn't happen in there. He didn't attack you. He didn't catch you with your boyfriend. You thought it was. I'm not saying that. I'm just not. If you were defending yourself, you were defending yourself.
No, there was no defense. There was no argument. There was no nothing. I mean, Scott was there when I broke the plate. Gary was in with the barn.
And that was the second. It was the night before, the day before.
Yeah, or I mean, you know.
So
I
that's-
think Monday night.
So is there another plate broken? You keep talking about the plates. We've got 2.
Yeah.
Why do we keep going back to broken plates?
I mean, because
You
you're saying
keep
there's evidence of a fight, of a, you know, whatever.
There's evidence. There's evidence.
But
And that's what I'm
all
saying.
that I know.
your statements about I don't know anything, I can't answer that question. None of that makes sense. When you are out and about on the property, you are in the RV, the tractor gets moved, the evidence we've gotten in the basement, the evidence we got from his body.
I mean, I didn't see anything out of the ordinary when we were all down there yesterday.
We
There was
did.
nothing out of the ordinary.
We did.
Walking down there, I'm telling you, just taking a quick glance, looking for a 6'5", 300-pound man, you're not going to see it. We are on our hands and knees with flashlights,
We are looking underneath.
combing every
chairs.
inch of your basement, finding every cobweb you've missed when you dust. And we're finding this stuff.
Whenever it's a good point.
It's there. It's going to come out when we release our reports. It's there. We're not bluffing you, I promise.
And I'm just telling you, I'm not, and like I said, I'm just saying that I don't know. If you had, if somebody
There
else
was
came
no
over, we need to know.
argument in that basement. We did not argue that night. There was no, I mean,
What happened that night?
Before we break, I'm going to give y'all a little instruction. I've done this in other cases as well. This evidence is being offered to you for the statements of the defendant. I want to caution you that what the officers say during the interview are non-testimonial and may or may not be true. And they may merely be being made to elicit a response from the defendant. You should not consider anything stated by the officers as being true unless it is supported by the evidence. All right. We'll take a break. We'll try to start back at 15 till.